One of the things that's important to understand when you come to Saint Amand is we grow these Iberian varieties from Portugal and Spain that originated there. And sometimes people wonder why we're doing this, but it really goes back to the 1970s when my dad was first getting into wine and we planted our vineyard. And at that point, he got into port-styled wines from Portugal and was looking around at what was being done in California at the time. And most of what was being done was being made out of Zinfandel or Petit Syrah or Cabernet. They were very simple, one-dimensional wines. And so he went to UC Davis and asked for all the Portuguese varieties that they had. We ended up getting 5 varieties that we grafted into our vineyard in 1980 and got our first vintage of port wine that was made in 1981. Now that's a whole nother story for another day, but we're here to talk about Toriga and Tempranillo and why we have them in our vineyard and why we feel they're so important. So Trigan Nationale, we call it Toriga on the label. That's another long story, but we call it Toriga on the label, is the principal variety in Portuguese ports. It's the noble variety of Portugal. But it's not grown that extensively over there because it's a very low-yielding variety and a late ripening variety that growers particularly don't always like. But we planted it, and early on we really recognized the tremendous quality it has in the wines. Back in the mid to late 80s, my dad started making a wine that he called Tres Cachos at that time, which was a blend of Trigan Nationale, Tinta Cao, and Alvarallón, which we were growing in the vineyard, all Portuguese varieties. And Tres Cachos is Portuguese for 3 clusters. And so we used it as a key blender in a dry wine while also using it as a key component in our port-styled wines, which are obviously fortified and sweet wines. And so we've been growing Trigan Nationale up in our Amador County vineyard since 1980, and it does really well. It's one thing you learn in farming and in viticulture and winemaking is certain varieties just work well in certain spots. And we lucked out that these Portuguese varieties, in particular Trigan Nationale, works particularly well in our vineyard up in the Jackson Valley of Amador County. Now fast forward a few years and you wonder where did Tempranillo come? Well, Tempranillo is a Spanish variety. Temprano means early in Spanish, and Tempranillo gets its name because it's an early ripening variety, which is a grower we particularly like. But Tempranillo is also allowed for premium port production in the Douro River Valley of Portugal. And it's the only non-indigenous Portuguese variety that's allowed in premium port production. And Tempranillo showed up in Portugal in the 1800s at a Quinta de Roriz, which Quinta in Portuguese is a small winery. And in Portugal, Tempranillo is known as Tinta de Roriz. And it's used both as table wines there and as a key component in their port wines, which I really like it for our port wines because it adds a chocolatey note to it. And so we planted Tempranillo in our vineyard in 1998, got our first vintage of Tempranillo in 2001, and started using it both as a table wine and as a key component in our port blend. So our port blends, going from 2001 onward, also have Tempranillo in it, where previously to that it didn't. It also, I think, is one of these varieties that's really found its home in our vineyard. From a farming perspective, I love it. It looks beautiful at harvest. It isn't susceptible to a lot of the diseases or pest problems that some of the other varieties have. And it just grows really well. It produces a decent crop, although 2020 was not the best harvest. We had a very light crop this year, so there won't be a lot of 2020 Tempranillo when we get around to bottling it, so you'll need to act quick on that one. But it does extremely well in there. And we actually have 2 clones planted in our vineyard. Originally we put in our first block, which was clone 1, and it's about 3.5 acres. And then a couple of years later, we added another 7.5 acres, which is a Ribera del Duero selection of the Tempranillo clone that we also grow too. But it's actually that original 3.5 acres that usually finds it into our Tempranillo blend. And so that's why we're growing these varieties up there. They do really well. We grow a bunch of other Spanish and Portuguese varieties that we can talk about another day, from our Verdelho and our Susau and Bastardo and Tinta Cao. But today we're going to be talking about Toriga and Tempranillo.